I'm from Colombia. I have been playing Crossfire like 8 years ago. In the team, I have the role to manage my team, and I'm attacker too.
Hi. Oi, meu nome é Daniel, eu jogo profissional há 2 anos, sou suporte da Black Dragons e estou representando o Brasil.
How I started playing back in 2013 professionally was pretty funny because I was playing with a group of my friends at first, and we were just playing in the pro league, and we weren't expecting to win, we were just having fun. And I was just dominating everybody. So the #1 team back then was Carbon, actually, and they were just looking at me and they were like, wow, this guy has, you know, the best, I don't know, statistics in the pro league, and we're looking for one. We want to make sure that we secure the CrossFire Stars spot for that year, the #1 place in North America for CrossFire Stars. And so they picked me up in order to secure that.
I knew about this game in 2012 because all my friends played that. So also I want to play that, and that's my favorite game since 8 years ago. At the beginning, this game was a hobby, but later I want to be a professional. That's why you have to be dedicated and disciplined and love for play this game, and meet a lot of people who is good in the game, because I learn a lot of things about other people too.
A coisa mais louca que eu fiz foi quando, há 2 anos atrás, eu decidi sair do quartel, que era uma vida que eu podia seguir carreira militar, e era uma certeza na minha vida para poder me dedicar ao CrossFire. Eu servi ao Exército Brasileiro, aí eu saí do Exército para jogar CrossFire profissional. No Brasil a gente tem um campeonato que se chama Liga de Acesso. Quando você vence, você se torna um profissional, começa a jogar com os times mais fortes. E no final de 2016 eu joguei esse campeonato junto com o Viana, atual capitão da Black Dragons, e a gente conseguiu vencer, e foi aí que eu comecei minha jornada como profissional.
At the beginning, when I started to play, my mom was disagreed because I played Crossfire. But later, when I started to travel, to win, to increase my popularity in this game, she's agreed now. Yes, and she's very happy because I played Crossfire.
Foi uma decisão muito difícil, porque na época eu fazia faculdade e eu pagava a faculdade com um dinheiro do Exército. Então meio que foi um choque para eles, mas eu tinha confiança em mim mesmo, que tudo ia dar certo, e eu batalhei pelo meu sonho, e graças a Deus, desde então eu tenho conseguido bons frutos dessa decisão.
So even back when I dropped out of college in 2013, my mother, because I only have my father's out of the picture, so my mother, she was still supportive of me, but she wasn't too happy that I did that, you know, but she was still supportive. She said, you know, you go do what you want to do, and if it doesn't work out, you come back and you go to college. So I would say 2 things that CrossFire has really done for me that I appreciate. #1 is it's satisfied my competitive spirit, where I've always enjoyed just competing and trying to be the best in something, and CrossFire has done that for me, and I love it. And the #2 thing is I've always loved to perform for people and you know, impress people and gain fans and things like this, just be popular. It's always something that makes me happy, and so I love all my fans.
The most important skills in the game are communication, good accuracy, work team. That's it. If my team have it, we can win all the time.
Eu acho que o CrossFire me deu muita coisa, porque eu fiz 21 anos já e eu não esperava que eu pudesse viver tanta coisa que o CrossFire me trouxe. Como, por exemplo, conhecer a China, morar na China, conhecer outros países do mundo e conhecer pessoas novas também. Então acho que eu sou muito grato a Deus por ter conhecido o CrossFire e por estar onde eu estou hoje.
I'm very thankful with this game because it gave me the opportunity to meet new friends, to meet new places, and completely changed my life. Thank you for.
Eu queria agradecer ao jogo por tudo que me proporcionou e dizer parabéns. Apesar do jogo estar há muito tempo, o jogo sempre foi muito bom e eu espero sempre que continue melhorando.
Thank you for providing me the opportunity to go on all these trips. I love coming to China, and I love playing at these tournaments, and it means the world to me. And also thank you to CrossFire for providing so much fun for me and my friends. There's so many things for us to do. We have late nights, laughing, you know, eating good food, drinking, playing some Crossfire. It's been great. Thank you, Crossfire.
Hello and welcome back. It's day number 3 here at CFS 2018. We're, of course, into our tournament stage. 2 quarterfinals down, 2 remaining. And, Jordan, we already have 2 semi-finalists locked in. Super Valiant Gaming up against Black Dragon. It's going to be coming up a little bit later on today. But for now, the big one, the big game with no Chinese team to speak of. It's Carbon up against INTZ. And I can't help but feel that this might actually be a close one.
Yeah, well, so far both the matches have been fairly one-sided, 10-5 and 10-2 respectively.
Yeah.
But this one, I think, yeah, I would definitely agree that this should be a pretty close one. We've seen good performances from both Carbon and from INTZ. We've seen a lot of both teams' matches going through to overtimes or to close results as well. So everything seems to be setting us up here for a fairly close one. And for both of these two regions, a pretty important match as well. We already have one Brazilian team through to the semi-final, but for North America, Carbon is the only hope.
It is their only hope. But to be fair, if you're going to pick one hope from the North American region, it'd have to be Carbon.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've been performing out amazingly in this tournament so far, getting through to this stage, and luck of the draw has it, they're not up against the Chinese team, so they can't be asking for much more than that. When they do come up against the Chinese team, they're doing a pretty good job. So I think these guys are probably the best hope for a foreigner. Outside of maybe RU Legends, but INTZ are here and they're in form. They've already taken Super Valiant to overtime on sub base, so these guys aren't here to muck around. I think they've surprised everyone, and let's just see how far they can go.
Yeah, they've come out of their group as the #1 seed. Though, to be fair, theirs was the only group without a Chinese team to start things off. So that obviously puts them in maybe a bit of a better spot than everyone else. They did have RU Legends there, who we'll be seeing later on this afternoon. Potential for a rematch there as well in the semi-finals if things go one way or another. But for this one, it's hard to put your finger on it. It's hard to say what is going to get which of these two teams out on top. There's nothing in particular. I feel like they're both very strong, and it's really going to come down to just who plays better today in this best of one.
Well, that's what it always comes down to at the end of the day. If you're not better on the day in the server, it doesn't matter if you've got the last 4 matches that you've won against X or Y team. Really, all that it comes down to is how you play right now in this matchup. Could depend on what map we get onto, could depend on which individuals do step up. We've seen on both sides multiple occasions, different individuals have stepped up. So I think that there's a lot to say for each team having quite an individual heavy presence. And depending on how things go for either on the day, then yeah, that could really be the difference.
If we go through yesterday's results, the things I suppose that we can talk about is that we know that Carbon made it through. They didn't drop a game. They've come through. They picked up 2 wins, go through, lock themselves in a slot to the quarterfinal. For INTZ, they had to go up against Super Valiant Gaming in their game, and it was 13-10. Went to overtime, taking clearly an extremely powerful team to overtime. You can't overstate how great that is.
For me, I mean, that game, we do put Super Valiant on a slow starter status and a bit of a slow burn. They didn't really get into that game until they really had to, and they flicked the switch, and when they did, overtime was a 3-0 affair. But I think for me, the game against Penta, that's when we really got to see, like, whoa, hang on a second, INTZ are here to play. And I think that's where they were able to shock Penta out of that game. I think Penta didn't even know what hit them by the end of it. And I think that was mostly just because of Pancada. He was playing so well. He had such a huge impact on a lot of clutch rounds as well. So coming into this game, he's definitely going to have to be a star for them. Obviously, we know about Famous. We know about Superman. We'll still be interested to see how Kays goes as well, the new guy. But yeah, I feel like the Brazilians, again, they're playing in form, and they're here to upset.
Yeah, and we take a look at this INTZ roster. Jordan, who's the standout that we've seen from across the last couple of days? Obviously, we came into this with some opinions. Have any of those opinions changed on who's the player here to watch out for?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Ian really hit the nail on the head.
Pancada.
Pancada definitely has been a superstar. Vinny, the other one I think that is a player to keep an eye on here for INTZ he's been performing pretty well alongside Pancada. I think actually really for INTZ it has been very, very solid from all 5 members of the team, but that's great to see. You also need those individual stars to sort of step up. So it really seems like they've got the perfect recipe for success here for themselves. I mean, is it going to be 2 Brazilian teams through to the semi-finals? And in that case, then we start having to ask the question, is it going to be 2 Brazilian teams through to the grand finals? As ludicrous as it seems, it could be possible.
Oh, that would be incredible. What an amazing thing to see. Firstly, no Chinese teams, and then 2 teams from the same region.
That isn't China.
Yeah, that would actually be incredible. I guess if we go back and take a look at what we've seen, Carbon, the team we see now on the screen, they've had a pretty good year. They've made 1 change, and CFGI went pretty well for them as well.
Yeah, look, it went well. They came second, but that was their first sort of grand final or potential tournament win that didn't have a Chinese powerhouse in front of them, and then they still weren't able to finish that off. So it's sort of a similar storyline actually here for Carbon. at CFS 2018, where they don't have a Chinese team in front of them all the way up until the semi-finals. And if they, for example, fall short here against INTZ, then I think some of those familiar demons are going to start to come back to haunt them.
Yeah, on the basis of what we've seen from these two teams in the past, you'd have to think that Carbon has that little bit of an edge. But if INTZ can take them down in this quarterfinal, Ian, look, that's a pretty big deal. And obviously what we've seen across the last 2 days indicates that that's definitely possible. It feels like INTZ is playing better than what we gave them credit for coming into this.
Yeah, look, honestly, no one gave INTZ the credit that they deserved. And coming into this, defeating Penta, that's definitely something that they can put in their trophy cabinet. Obviously, that overtime with Super Valiant, that means a lot. Coming up against Carbon, these are the guys who got knocked out pretty early on in the piece last year and made that lineup change. The reason for that is they felt like if they did make it to the final, they would have done a better job than perhaps Everteam did. And I think that was an upset in itself, that Everteam got through and not Carbon because of the way they were playing that event. Michael, he's been pretty quiet, I've got to say, this event. So interesting to see if he can step up. With that being said, if Carbon are to fall again to a non-Chinese team at CFS, then I think that's really something that will really hurt them hard. INTZ, I think they're in a position where they're just like, we're a lot further along than we thought we would be. We've made it into the quarterfinals. Let's just keep going.
Jordan, coming to this game, are you on the side of Carbon or on the side of INTZ?
It's very hard to say, Ben. I want to say that I'm on the side of Carbon, but I actually sort of feel as though INTZ are coming into this one in a little bit better form. Carbon have been really pushed in a lot of their matches, where for INTZ, I mean, obviously with the exception of the match against Super Valiant, things have been pretty comfortable. They got a 10-6 over Pacific Wara, a 10-5 over Penta. That, for me, is a very impressive result, that win against Penta. Yeah. But when you look at things for Carbon, they've been going to 10-8. It was against Rue Legends, to be fair, but also against Boss, a 10-8 there for them as well. So I think that there's a lot to be said for this INTZ roster at the moment and the form that they're coming in with. I definitely think this is going to be a close match, and to be honest, I think that it could go either way, but I might be leaning slightly towards INTZ. I think, something like 55-45%, so really not a whole lot in it.
So
but for me,
a 10-8, really is what you're
something
saying.
like a 10-8 either way, but I'll say INTZ for the sake of argument.
Ian?
Oh, I'm going to go Carbon, and I think it's going to be an overtime, but and then even then it'll be like, 13-11? So I think this game is going to go down to the wire, and that's if I see the same INTZ that we've seen all comp, and if we see the same Carbon that took RU Legends to the sword. So I think I was very surprised that RU Legends didn't play up to scratch in that game against Carbon. But then again, Carbon, they've come into this thinking, give us a Chinese team, we'll show you. They haven't had the chance yet.
Yeah. For me, I am very much sitting on the fence here as well. It's a difficult one to come through. On one side, I feel like Carbon's got the experience. They have those players there who can make the difference, will get them across the line. On the other side, you have INTZ, who have been playing very well across CFS 2018, are in fine form today. For me, though, if I go through these results, I might take a little bit of what Ian has said here, in that INTZ taking Super Valiant through to overtime was more about Super Valiant underperforming. You still have to give INTZ credit for it, but it's not the same Super Valiant that we just saw destroy Flipside 10-2. When they went up against Penta, I just don't think Penta were in form this week. I just feel like,
they just didn't turn up to that game. Yeah. Everyone's been talking about Penta being the superstars, European #1 team perhaps, and then they come in and they just really floundered.
We saw moments of it for Penta, getting up to the 10-8 against Super Valiant. Again, a match that probably should have been winnable for them. Yeah. A really solid victory over Pacific Wara 10-2 as well. So they kind of showed their class, but when it really mattered at the elimination match, they couldn't stand up to INTZ.
They literally just walked out the door.
Yeah. That, I think, says a lot about INTZ as well in what should have been a really tough match, I thought, at least for them. They looked like a completely different team compared to what Penta was. I mean, INTZ was head and shoulders above them. So I think INTZ, it's just their moment at this point in time, and to see them fall short against Carbon, I think would be devastating for INTZ, because this may be the best that they have performed.
And if I go through our schedule from what we've seen, Carbon didn't play yesterday, did they?
Correct.
They played at the very end of day one, whilst INTZ took down Penta last night 10-7 as the very last match of the night. And it wasn't a particularly late night either. So coming through now, playing, what is it? It's like almost 2 p.m. local time here in Taichung. And for me, that's a good place to be. You've come off a couple of good games.
Sure.
You're coming through. I still think Carbon's going to win. I still can't get past the fact that I think the experience on this Carbon team, I think what we saw from them as STDX in 2017, they're so hyped. But I don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be enough.
But that's exactly what we saw from INTZ against Penta as well. Remember, they made Penta wait, and that's exactly what they've done to Carbon as well. So we were thinking, like, what's in that huddle for INTZ? What is that going to make a difference? And it didn't seem too early on in the game, but then we kind of got a bit of a better idea as they sort of smashed away against Penta. I do question, though, for Carbon, are they going to suffer something similar to Q9, where they've had a bit more of a relaxed tournament compared to some of the other teams?
Yeah.
In that they did only play on day one, on Tuesday. They had the day off yesterday.
Yep.
And maybe they come into this one needing to warm up, and with only a best of one, you don't really have time to warm up if you start off poorly. INTZ could just run away with things. We've seen what can happen from Penta against INTZ if you really give that momentum over to INTZ. So I think that's something that Carbon definitely need to be aware of.
Well, Jordan says it's INTZ. Ian says it's going to be Carbon. I'm on the side of Carbon as well. But at the end of the day, it does not matter what we think. Our third quarterfinal, North America, up against South America. One best of one, the first to 10. We'll see them through to this afternoon's semifinals. Let's get into the action.
Yeah, North America up against South America. Brazil, in fact, for INTZ. And a very tough match for both teams. Mexico will be the choice. Very apt, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got to remember the Carbon game we saw before with this 3-man hit squad in the underpass. Very efficient for them, very effective. INTZ, let's see what they can do on the defense here. And, well, Carbon slowly but surely make their way through middle of the map.
Yeah, Carbon have actually started off with the double sniper setup, so it wouldn't be surprising to see them play a little slower here, though it does look like they're really pressing in. Pancada, of course, for INTZ starts off well, 2 kills, and that is definitely a nerve settler for him in particular. Carbon
Let's just say that didn't work out too well for Carbon. Famous will answer back with one of his own on the sniper. Now we've got the 2 snipers left alive for Carbon.
Yep.
Doing a little bit of damage. Kai's misses a shot there, which may punish them later on. They're getting hunted down by the Brazilians. But they are able to fall back. 1:22 left on the clock. A lot of time to work with. And it looks like Kai's is just hoping that NNM pushes on through. The timing not in his favor, though. And this is very aggressive play by the Brazilians, definitely asserting themselves early on.
Yeah, don't see a world in which Famous is going to be able to get out of this one, especially with a sniper. Not so easy to make a 1v4 work, but if INTZ do give him those opportunities, I'm sure they will be able to make something happen.
Now it's just a waiting game. Obviously, with the sniper, it'll be difficult for him to get multiple kills, and that's where I think INTZ need to group up together, and if they are going to hunt. Otherwise, these individual players, he's just going to pick them off one at a time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at this point, INTZ, they don't even need to hunt. They just need to sit and wait. It's only 30 seconds left here for Famous, so inevitably he is going to need to get the ball rolling if he wants to win this round. There's only so much time that he can wait.
Yeah, and you can see SDK is just guarding that C4 as well.
Well, there it is. SDK finishes it off. First round of this quarterfinal does go the way of INTZ. Carbon left wanting a little bit. It sort of went wrong from the start, so I don't think it's a great... I'm trying to think of the word.
Yeah.
Struggling.
Okay.
Insight, maybe, into how the rest of this is going to go. Obviously, Carbon, I don't think necessarily had much of a chance there to begin with. So if they can start off better, then we'll get a better idea of how things play
I think
out.
that was just... interestingly, though, Carbon have gone for the double sniper again. But yeah, it doesn't really tell us a whole lot, does it? INTZ with that great crossfire with SDK and Pancada. I mean, if there's any guy that's going to open up the match in this spectacular fashion that he was able to close them out against Super Valiant and again against Penta yesterday, he was insane. Just insane individually. NNM as well, he had his moments. SDK, though, I believe was up there. Akemi, a bit quiet. Same with Vinny. Didn't hear much from Vinny, but... it's a team effort, isn't it?
Vinny had a couple of clutch rounds.
Yeah.
There's looking like enough for INTZ. He's going to spot the info out, and NNM will take the peak as well. Well, you said you didn't see much from Vinny. There's 2K from him in this round. How about that for INTZ? 5v2 now. And Carbon really struggling to set the pace here on Mexico.
Can't get an opening, can they, Jordan? STK holding the site. And again, similar position as last round, 2-on-5. Superman and Rek. These guys can get it done, but I'll be very surprised as obviously the barrage of bullets comes in. And just through sheer attrition, the Brazilians will come out on top. So great start for them. 2-zip. Yep. Carbon really need to think about their play style right here. I wonder if they've gone for the double sniper again.
It's not the end of the world, of course, for Carbon. A lot of the matches that we did see on Mexico started well for the defending.
Yeah.
So, you know, even 3 rounds maybe for Carbon will be enough. Superman does start off this one well, but Kai's is traded out by STK. So all is well that ends well for INTZ, and so far this round is not progressing too poorly. Vinny, an aggressive position, a forward position that Carbon are not aware of. It's not even needed, as Nenem will finish off too, and Vinny, he wants to have a bit of time in the sun for himself as well. Will continue to push on forward, runs out of ammo, but really, at that point, what does it matter? 3K for NNM.
And this is just like what we saw from the game against Penta from INTZ, where they were just able, straight out of the gates, just getting a huge lead and really just punishing the slow strategy from Carbon here, just pushing up so far in the middle box holes. And Carbon have just got no reply. Now they've gone the 5 AKs. Trying to find an opening somewhere. Now, that underpass hasn't been tested. Pancada, obviously, they're showing too strong for them. And they're not willing to take that risk again. And they just can't even get through this box hole to even try and strike towards B. Very strong defense so far.
Yeah, indeed. And it's everyone from INTZ having an impact at the moment, where Carbon, a couple of the players yet to get off the donut. Superman, again, starts the round off well for Carbon, but
yeah, his entries have been great.
It didn't help too much last round. Even with the player advantage, Carbon could not capitalize.
They need that smoke over the roof to allow them to focus purely on the right flank there once they get into that box hole. And NM answers back. Yeah. So evening it up very early on. And again, just keeping Carbon out of this middle area, it's very... you can see it's got to be frustrating for Carbon. They just can't even get through that choke point.
1 for 1 for NM. Famous goes down as well. It's not a bad start for INTZ, but their superstar of at least this match is now out of the round. STK, nice position for him, but catches off a few. Will be traded back by Pancada, who decides to fall away into the B-bomb site. Wasting more of Carbon's time. 40 seconds left on the clock, and they still need to group up and commit to a site. Looks like it'll be A for the moment. And Kemi will shut down Kai's and knows roughly where Michael will be coming from. At least has a suspicion. Now certainly has been spotted. Pancada giving the info.
Wow.
And Kemi finishing it off. 4-0 right now, and the Brazilian teams are just looking absolutely unstoppable.
That was their best chance of getting around as well, Carbon. Getting it down to just a 1-on-2. So... really scratching my head as to see how Carbon can get through this. They need to maybe expose this side alley a little bit quicker. Obviously, with the 3 players in the box halls, it does put a lot of pressure onto STK here to defend the A side all on his own. And this is it. Maybe it will come to fruition, but maybe STK not. Still gets 2.
Just doesn't seem possible right now for Carbon to make any real inroads. They do answer back with a couple of their own, but I don't know that that is going to be enough. INTZ have shown that in the equal scenarios and when they're at a deficit, they still win the rounds.
But again, the thing is for me that Carbon still don't have any real estate across the map. You know? Like, they have no control. INTZ can still walk around and do whatever they want. And you can see that now with Pancada and Akemi.
Certainly seems like INTZ are reading this one pretty well. No real presence over to B. 2 toward A. But maybe Carbon has another box of tricks left.
Yep.
Red clearing out middle for now.
Again, just the one player defending the A site. Look at the kill-death ratios for the Brazilians. Just across the board.
There's N&M as well on the A site, so it's not like it's undefended or weakly defended.
At this rate, if INTZ are going to win this game, I'd be putting some stock behind them going all the way.
Oh, look at this. It just seems impossible to beat this guy. Another 2K, 10-4. And one thing that we've seen out of these quarterfinals, definitely more so than in the group stages, has been massive superstar performances from certain individuals on their teams. Obviously, N9 for Super Valiant. Now we're starting to see that from N&M. Bomb will go down from Famous. Can he step up and be a superstar for Carbon? This 2v1 not going to be possible. Not even attempted, really, at the end of the day.
You can see Famous there, just trying to see what he might be thinking. He's just doing the math quickly on how they've been losing the rounds, trying to figure out where the opening will be for Carbon. They haven't had any success yet, so all he can do is try and imagine the outcome of some of these situations.
Oh, that was very close for Kais.
Yep.
But close enough is not good enough, unfortunately. STK tagged up, but no kill. Still a gun in the game for INTZ, and right now at 5-0, Carbon really scratching their heads. Even quite hesitant to push into middle.
Well, there's no other way in there, is there, Jordan? So unless they were to go through the A alley, come up behind with STK and NNM there, it's really, you're asking quite a lot. This is total lockdown of the A site, total lockdown of the B site. The underpass has got Pancada, which is enough for me. So there's nowhere that Carbon can really go at this point. And it's a testament to Vinny and Akemi holding this area. Single-handedly keeping Carbon out of it. The timing on that push is perfection.
Yeah, really nice pop flash for Vinny. He'll get the info, if not the kills.
Yeah, just delaying Carbon just a little bit more. Here comes another smoke from Carbon. So that's just try and prevent any impact from N&M. The flash comes in so he can peek.
Yep.
But now this is where you would expect Carbon to try and make a move on the box holes. They need to go now while that smoke is up.
Well, Vinny is ready and waiting. Spots out Superman. Tickles him a little bit through the box, but no kill just yet. Still, two come across for INTZ, and of course one more for Pancada as he gets himself involved in the firefight. STK wrapping around the back, and it's a 2v1. This time it's Rek. Stuck in the disadvantageous firefight. Has to try and find these 1v1s. 5 shots left in the AK. Needs to reload. The Colt comes out, but 28 seconds here for Rek.
Yeah, the regroup here from the Brazilians, and now they'll work together as a bit of a hitman squad. The Smash Brothers. They're going to give up the C4. And 17 seconds left. I mean, you pretty much guarantee that Rek has to hit towards the A site once he does pick it up. He doesn't have a choice.
Well, taking his time getting in there, but perfect peak from INTZ. That's 6 in a row now, 6-0. And the hopes of North America are just fading away. And not even fading. They're falling apart.
Again, the Brazilians are going to lock Carbon out of the box hole. But Carbon do have 3 players down towards the side alley, heading into A. They've tried this before, but they got shut down hard by N&M and STK. See if they're able to do it again. It's all about timing. The smokes will come up. You can hear them hissing away. Rek still in the box holes. Will flash over into the A site for them.
Michael trying to entry with the pistol. Not going to go too well for him as STK will get the 1-for-1 at the very least. This time, Carbon trading effectively enough, but will it be enough? That is the real question.
Oh.
Finally, advantage now for Carbon as they get the bomb down, and it's a 2v3.
It's happening.
Pancada and Akemi trying to once again dash the hope of the North Americans. And if they do get this one, I think that is the nail in the coffin for Carbon, and a critical round now for the attacking side. Everything in their favor this time. INTZ waiting, lurking, trying to find the openings. But Famous will shut down Pancada, and Akemi with no HP. Finally goes down, and that's 1 on the board for Carbon.
Well, you got to take whatever you can get if you're Carbon, can't you really? I mean, finally they found a hole in the defense for the Brazilians, the one that we've been able to see the whole time on the map overview. That grenade will keep Rek out just for the time being. But speed seems to be the key for Carbon, and I think that's something that they're not going to be aware of. They think that there's, 2 people holding that box haul when really we can see there's 3. Pancada's been holding the underpass all on his own, and STK and NNM have been, double teaming that A site. So really, it's the numbers game that Brazil have been able to hide from Carbon and the North Americans. And again, they're going to find themselves in this stalemate. Nothing they can do. They've just got to wear down the utility away from INTZ.
Well, Carbon's not out of the woods just yet. Need to be ensuring that one round is not all that they're going to get in this half.
They're way in the woods still, Jordan. They're lost in the woods. They've ran out of breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
They've ran out of string.
It's time to bring out the chainsaw, I think.
There's no Little Red Riding Hood here.
There is an STK. And he is not happy with the intruders.
I think, if anything, STK would be the big bad wolf here, Jordan.
Most definitely. Vinny around the back catches Kais. And Michael, 0 and 7 at the moment.
Struggling.
Hasn't found a kill just yet and will still remain without one on his name.
I'd be surprised if Michael stayed in this team after this. He's had a shocking tournament. But that being said, the Brazilians are actually just too good right now. Mexico, sub-base, you name it. And this is it. This is it. Here we go. Pancada. He's going to get tested here. He's on his own.
I'm sure that he can answer it nicely. STK to help him out. Pancada with one. Everybody from INTZ wants a piece of the pie. And another round. 8 and 1 at the end of the half for INTZ. And Carvin look flustered.
Well, I mean, coming into this game, you would have asked them who's going to win. They're going to we're going to win the whole tournament. So for them to get beaten down like they have in this first half, it's just been unreal. It's been hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's just been hard to watch.
All of these highlights pretty much going to be INTZ.
Yeah. Vinny has just been outstanding. Same with STK. And it's just that numbers game for this map. And I think, honestly, INTZ just redefining Mexico defense strategy here. Yeah, that single choke point is so important. If you can hold that effectively as they have, then really it just shuts Carbon out of the map, or any attacker out of the map. It's unreal.
You've really got to be thinking as Carbon, like what can we do? Seems like the stars aligned for them in this tournament, and
there's no way you come back from an 8-1.
It just doesn't seem to be enough. Well, you say that, Ian, but you saw it last year. That said, it was Super Valiant that came back.
A little bit different.
Against Pacific Mark Dart.
Look, coming into this game, Carbon did just look so strong. They've defeated RU Legends. Like, everything is going their way. And then the Brazilians have just put up such a strong wall of defense here.
Well, speaking of wall, Rek trying to build his own. Michael now on the board. 2 kills for him in the round. And a big one to start off for Carbon. That's exactly what they needed.
It's only the beginning. Is it too little too late?
I don't know.
How many more of these can we string together? They need every single round to avoid overtime.
It's not over until the fat lady sings.
Well, even then, could just be the beginning if it was opera.
Yeah. Haven't heard anything just yet. Carbon will know that the defense side is a little bit easier for them to play.
I don't know. If you're Carbon, exactly. Wow. How can you take this risk?
He's on his own.
Well, that's Pancada's all over it. He's ready and waiting.
Well, it's paying off right now for Carbon, not being punished for the information that's being gathered.
Yep. I was interested to see that, I mean, look, I can't criticize the Brazilian defense. It was just impenetrable. But I was wondering why Pancada didn't find the need to go through, push that underpass, since there was so much clear focus on the box holes. All right, here we go.
Famous and Superman combining in middle.
Yep.
Rekel as well.
Giving them a bit of their own medicine here. How many times did we see this?
Exactly.
Just the player watching the flank. It reminds me of Black Dragons as well.
That's why I said it could be the tale of two sides. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
It's looking much better already for Carbon in the second half.
I just can't. I would be very surprised if this was to go the way of the North Americans, or even to overtime. Here we go again. The Brazilians look like they're going for a very fast attack now.
Well, they decide to fall back. Carbon throwing a few grenades in their direction does keep them busy.
But what I find interesting is Carbon have given up the middle halls. They've given up that complete control. They're going for that 3-man hit squad towards the underpass with 2 players holding the A site. Are they going to push through based on what Kai saw last round? I mean, why would you? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Famous also on a sniper now? Is that what I just saw?
Yeah, that is what you saw. Double sniper set up for Carbon here. Can be quite potent. Not a map that we've seen too much effectiveness out of the snipers from, though. Not in this tournament, at least. Much slower round out from INTZ this time. They've recognized what's not working, at least.
Well, the thing is, they're going very slow, right? But they're also not getting any casualties. So, and the risk, here we go. See, this is what Carbon needed to do. That smoke strategy to get past that choke point. And now they need to get a flash over here to see if they can get onto Famous. Remember, Carbon played this map once already, and they went for that double setup, that crossfire in B already, with Famous and Rec. So INTZ would be well aware of the possibility that this would be the setup. Very slow. Minute left on the clock.
Another smoke down. INTZ methodically working their way through the map. STK will open the account for the attacking side. Rec unchecked though. Will trade back, but it's Vinny once again to secure 2.
Ooh, this is it.
Through the smoke. INTZ poised to put themselves onto match point with a win in this round. Famous 3-0 so far this half. He'll have to double his scoreline to keep Carbon in it. But this might be the final nail in the coffin that INTZ really needed to squash Carbon. Grabs the AK. Few low HP players here for INTZ, so possible for Famous, but not enough. As NNM will spot him out, and that is 9 now for INTZ.
Well, now one more to go. You can see actually the Brazilians aren't getting that hyped, Jordan. They're 1 round away from getting into the semi-finals, and they don't look too phased.
Maybe they feel as though it's a foregone conclusion at this point.
Yeah, well, they're on the attack, and so far there's only been 1 round on attack for the North Americans, but can they string together 2 here? The Brazilians, look how fast they've been going.
Vinny and Akemi bring it back. It was looking disastrous for a moment for INTZ, but now they have control of the B site. They'll be able to get a quick bomb plant here as well.
Yeah, Vinny lucky to get across then as well.
Very low on HP, but an open plant. Akemi will look to push forward.
Oh, this
Spotting through the smoke.
Looks good for Carbon, to be honest.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, well,
1
wow.
for 1.
Michael gets the high HP player.
He knows where Kais is coming from as well. It just takes a headshot, but Kais and Carbon survive.
Oh, look at Michael's positioning of his mouse there.
It's very strange.
Yeah. It's almost like an old sort of Quake setup. Anyway, Kai saves the day. The new guy on the block. Another round for the Brazilians to test the defense and the mettle of Carbon, the fortitude to see if they can stay in this. Everything against them right now. Holding this box hall area, middle of the map. It's going to be up to Famous to keep the spirits up of his team. Been performing quite well on the defensive side here. INTZ looking for an opening, looking for a mistake. 1 round away from getting into the semi-final.
I've been challenged a little bit by Carbon in this half. It's still 3-1 so far.
Yeah, ever so slightly. But in the fashion that these rounds have gone down, it's not been as dominant as we saw in the first half. Carbon just getting absolutely shut out of it. They didn't even get a chance. Very reminiscent of the Penta game.
Yep.
And if this was to go to a 10-4, then, you know, I'd say arguably the Penta game put up more of a fight.
Yeah, you could definitely make that argument.
There was that late resurgence, so you can see INTZ have trouble closing out the games, is what I would say. But getting to this point, they have not had much trouble.
Not yet. 9-4. Still plenty of time for INTZ to clean things up. And it may just be this round, especially with those 2 openings, STK and NNM. Giving INTZ that little sliver of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, can't afford to throw this away now. Akemi on a flank. This is going to work out wonderfully if he can find Michael. Famous rotates back in towards A. Or is he over towards B? He's over towards B. And STK up. Looks like he'll be asked to fake. Might help them kill Rek, who is in the A site with Michael.
Yeah, if he gets caught on a rotation, it'll be disastrous. It is, in fact, actually STK that does get caught by Famous.
Oh, it's the one at a time fake.
Straight into the B bomb site, and then we're getting the bomb down.
Yeah.
There's still a player up on A right now, and that's Akemi. Trying to cause as many problems for Carbon as he can before they rotate off, but looks like Carbon have gotten out okay for now, and it'll be a 3v1 or 3v2 toward this B bomb site. Now definitely a 3v1, and then an M goes down. Akemi won't even be here in time if they just sit the defuse. Famous is going to get this one easily.
Well, a small mistake there by INTZ, but could end up costing them. This defense looking pretty strong for Carbon. And again, Akemi giving safe passage to Rek falling out of that site. Does take down Michael, but ultimately Famous, the captain, just performing above and beyond for Carbon so far this half. You've got to say, Jordan.
Yeah, well, he's always been a very strong player from the North American region. One that does seem to return time and time again with strong performances at events like this. 4 rounds of difference now for Carbon. They're slowly clawing back, but how long can they hold on? Can they hold on? In fact, it's not necessarily a case of can they.
It's looking very strong so far. It's actually starting to prove us wrong just a little bit on how solid their defense has been. Brazilians unable to get through that middle area once again.
It's still hard to believe, though, that Carbon can make this comeback work. It's not quite there yet.
No.
Need to get another few rounds before we will really believe.
I want to hear the shouting. That's when you know they believe. Right now, they're just 1 round at a time.
That's the way you need to be for now.
Yep.
Tournament lives on the line.
On the line, yeah. Very slow game so far, though. Taking their time, allowing these flashes and smokes to slowly dwindle down. And eventually they're going to pounce. And when they do, well, the North Americans better be ready because it's going to be ferocious. 3 players all huddled together on the A alley. 3 players for Carbon holding the A site. Will there be a distraction or a fake towards middle or the B site first to draw their attention? 35 seconds now. Time becoming another opponent for the Brazilians.
Yeah, really leaving it down to the wire, but a perfect entry here would be enough. A good start for Carbon and an even better finish by the looks of things as Famous will double down. Another round on the board for Carbon, another solid one as well. INTZ keeps them waiting, but Carbon doesn't mind.
Interesting to see, you got a few more rounds left up your sleeve. I want to see maybe the Brazilians head in fast. Maybe a little bit of luck, maybe a little bit of RNG, but go in past these smoke grenades, catch Carbon off guard by taking that added risk. You've got rounds to play with right now.
Yeah, you can always default back to something more standard.
Exactly. You don't want to leave it too late to try new things.
Don't want to do that in the final round. That could push it through to the tiebreaker.
Well, they've guaranteed themselves the tiebreaker, but that's not enough.
No.
It's never going to be enough until
not if Carbon makes a comeback as well.
Yeah.
If they get back into a tiebreaker, I think Carbon probably wins this match.
Yep. Second chance at taking the blacklist side. They would have learnt something from their time of getting smashed that first half.
It's been a very solid fight back from Carbon, but you can't help but think all it takes is one mistake on any player's behalf.
Yeah.
And that could be the end of the run for Carbon. They did manage to make it to the top 4 last year. Looking to do so again, and they're on their way. This defensive side working very nicely. Superman, 2 kills this time. 2v4. Nicely done from Vinny, though. Keeps it interesting, but Kai's immediately shuts that down. A 2v1 for Akemi. No HP. 12 is all that he has.
Wow, really clutching at straws here, but 1 on 2. It's very doable, especially with that sniper. That's what you would want. Eliminates that HP advantage that Carbon have, the one-shot kill. They're both separated, so won't be able to trade each other out effectively. C4 in Akami's vision. He's going to get safe passage toward it. May walk into Michael at the forklift first.
Oh, yep. He's been spotted. Carbon, or you can hear them now, which we didn't hear before.
Yep. Starting to believe.
Really looking focused as well.
I think when you give Carbon the opportunity to think, that's when the Brazilians are allowing them back into this game. The Brazilians do look better, far and away, with just raw aim. And so I think in that case, that's where they need to take the battle. They need to take it back to that scrap fight.
Running out of time to do that, though.
Yeah.
Bit of a pause for the moment, as it looks like it needs fixing on the side of INTZ. Give a little bit of time for the teams to just think about what's going on right now.
Well, they can't talk, but they can think. And that's exactly what they need to do. They need to think back to how they secured that one round that they have. And they need to also maybe think about, what's letting them down ultimately at the end of these rounds when everything comes to fruition. What is the one thing that's giving Carbon that edge? And I think it's just that you're allowing Carbon to read your play.
The shoe's definitely on the other foot now. INTZ really
Yep.
grasping at straws a little bit, even though they're the ones that are only one round away from winning this match. It just as easily at this point feels as though it could go through to the tiebreaker.
Well, it's the exact same score we would have seen in that first half, right? So 1 round to the offense, 1 round to the 7 rounds to the defense, here or there. So both the teams looking very even at the moment. I did say overtime, Jordan. I don't want to be right.
I said 10-8 to INTZ.
So hopefully this issue doesn't knock the wind out of the sails. You can see, this is the thing with when you have some sort of issue with your setup. You can feel like you were so close to winning, and this might cause an issue. This might cause some, break in momentum or whatever. But really, that's all in your head, and you need to just get past that in any way you can.
All of these players are quite experienced, though, Ian. So
yeah,
should
well,
not be an issue.
Shouldn't be, but you can clearly see it is. Some of the players being affected.
Not what you want.
No.
I don't think from either side.
Well, if you're Carbon right now, and you're trying to come back, and you've got some form of momentum, you've got a glimpse of hope, then this pause happens, and you just sit there and think yourself into a mess. Do we need to change anything?
Yeah.
You might say yes, you might say no. What do you want to do next round? And then when that next round comes, you've just overthought it. Yeah, exactly. And vice versa for the Brazilians. They only need one more round. They're running out of time to do this. Once you get into overtime, you're giving Carbon that extra chance. I do genuinely think a fast strategy will catch them off guard. Even just doing we saw those 3-man players, the 3-man squad going into the underpass, taking down K's. He's sitting in there on his own.
Yep.
Fall back then and maybe try and take the box holes.
Yeah, there hasn't been too much responsibility for guys on this defensive side. A lot of it has been going toward middle, which is where Superman and Rec have been.
Yeah. And they've been very strong.
Definitely. I don't think middle is the way to go right now for...
and even if they try to do a fast side alley attack into the A site, you've got Michael, you've got Superman, who's able to turn around, and Rec, who are on the fast rotate. So they need to do something to stop Carbon from getting numbers behind their plays. And I think that's where they're going wrong by taking so long. But now, well, you can see it's taking some time to get everything back to a working state.
Definitely some worried faces on stage.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily worried, but nervous. And
well, I mean, Carbon are definitely putting up more of a fight than you would expect after that first half. it did just look like, maybe INTZ would way better than Carbon. At the end of the day, it could also just be that, fortune favoured the brave. And they were brave enough to hold that box room together.
They'll take a risk, I think, to come back from a deficit like this, and the risk is so far paying off for Carbon. Still, all it takes is one little mistake. The hopes of North America.
Yep.
I know Carbon has quite a lot of fans out there.
One or two.
And
Probably in Twitch chat right now.
You're always looking at the chats and someone's saying, when does North America play? Well, they're playing right now. They're facing a bit of a deficit, but they're definitely making a comeback, putting in a good name for themselves. Although, if you finished off this tournament having only put in a good name for yourself, I think you'll be disappointed as Carbon. They want to at least go one better than the result that they achieved last year, which was 4th place. They did lose the deciding match. That was against Pacific Makta as well.
Yeah, and I think that was a real disappointing game for them, especially since they were touted as being such a great chance for the foreigners. And potentially would have done a better job against the Chinese, but they never had the opportunity.
Who knows? All these things in the past, and the only thing that Carbon can think about is the future. Making amends perhaps for that performance. Although I do think that they exceeded expectations really last year. So if they were to get knocked out now, maybe a little bit of a disappointment for Carbon. Not what they would have expected, definitely. Their confidence coming into this tournament has been very good.
Sky high. Absolutely sky high, by all accounts, from word on the street. Our community reporter, Kyle.
Well, here we go, back into Mexico. 9-7 right now.
See, this is where you go fast. If I'm INTZ, I just go straight into the box halls.
Well, they haven't gone particularly fast at all, Ian. They've given Carbon time to set up.
Yeah.
This could be the last round, though, for Carbon, INTZ. 1 round away from finishing off this quarterfinal in their favour.
I think what they're looking out for now is because Carbon had all that time to think, they might think, well, Carbon are going to go on the front foot. Now Carbon are going to try and push somewhere. But they've just been sitting in the sights, playing solid as a rock. They don't need to change anything. They're going to let the Brazilians dictate the pace and their fate. And that's always scary to think. So Michael's going to throw another smoke over towards middle, try and prevent the Brazilians from penetrating that area. You can see this sort of crossfire between Superman, Rec, and Famous. Kai's on that sniper still.
Big stack of players toward the A site right now for Carbon. If INTZ go there, it could be their undoing once again.
Yep. But again, they just need to get those entry kills, and then they're home sweet. Carbon are very heavily spread out, but it is no easy feat to take down that crossfire between Forklift and the bottleneck of the opening of the site. Now we have 2 players outside of A. It is just Michael inside. Oh, no, it looks like Famous is there behind the Forklift.
Yeah, Famous and Michael spotting the angle in toward the alley. That is where the majority of INTZ are going to come from. We've seen a round like this before. Very late in the round, INTZ made their way into the site. It did not work well for them. But they are going to give it another try. And you think any second now they have to make their move, but still holding.
Yep.
27. That timer starting to tick down for INTZ. When do they go? Now comes the explosion. Vinny opens well. And only 1 trade back from Carbon. This might be it. Superman, so solid, also down. Kais and Rec to try and turn this 3v2 into a round 1 for Carbon. Rec will fall, and it's just Kais. He won't get it done. Vinny finishes it off, and INTZ are through. 2 Brazilian teams now in the semi-finals as they finish off Carbon 10-7.
Well, it took a lot of time, and obviously that technical pause gave them some time to think. But after all of that, eventually the victor comes, the spoils. INTZ again proving a powerhouse team here at CFS 2018, upsetting another favorite. And, well, how far can they go?
That is a very good question indeed. Is it a possibility that we see one or two of the Brazilian teams through to the grand final this year? Something that I don't think that they have ever achieved, having a Brazilian team into the grand final. At least out of CFS. Well, they seem in good spirits at the moment, the two Brazilian teams, in good form as well. So
unbeatable form for
maybe
INTZ.
this year is the year. And yeah, unbeatable so far. Wow. Has INTZ been, with the exception of Super Valiant. 13-10 is the only match that INTZ have lost, and that was a very close affair as well. Could have just as easily gone their way. They're definitely looking strong.
INTZ coming through with the victory in their quarterfinals up against the North Americans. Carbon going down. Gents, that was the start, really, is what won it there for the Brazilian team, I feel. In a best of three, I don't know how that would have gone. It felt like maybe Carbon had found a little bit of momentum, but they let so much get away when it was their turn to attack. They struggled so hard.
You have to think, even if like 2 rounds maybe on the first half would have gone the way of Carbon, that could have been enough for them to come back in. It's just they utterly failed to make anything happen in the first half, and unfortunately that just didn't give them enough lead
If only
time.
Carbon knew that they needed just 2 or 3 more rounds to actually win that entire match. That was going to overtime. If it was not for something like that technical pause where they have that break. Because Carbon was starting to come back, and you could just see the way that those first few rounds fell apart for Carbon. It was like, okay, that was mistakes. We can fix it, no worries. But then every time, the Brazilians just adapted. And it got harder and harder and harder for Carbon to get in. And if they had just had a bit more success early on, like Jordan was saying, it could have been a whole nother story.
Just one round. One round would have made the difference.
Yep.
And that would have only been to 9,
Get them to overtime at least.
Exactly. So, look, tough for Carbon, but congratulations to INTZ. Coming through time and time again, they proved just how strong they are. They proved just how strong Brazil as a region is here as well. For me, looking back on that game, the first half, Michael, 0-9. It's tough, particularly since he came back into the team, heading towards this tournament as well.
Well, on the other side of the coin, NNM was doing the complete opposite. He was going ballistic in the first half, and it's at 16-13, which I think maybe even has done himself a bit of a disservice in the second half, because the first half was phenomenal, slowed down a little bit to be fair, but he was obviously quite a big part of the reason that INTZ does win that map. I mean, I think for certain individuals, obviously you look at yourself and you think, hey, what could I have done differently? I mean, that's something maybe that Blame will be thinking as well. From Flipside, in that last match, these guys have not stepped up in the time when it really mattered, and it meant that their team has been knocked out. Maybe it's not entirely their fault. Of course it's not entirely their fault. But definitely you'll be feeling in yourself that you could have done more.
Well, CFS 2018 is finished here for Carbon, but not for our remaining teams. We have one more quarterfinal match coming up that's going to be all gamers against RU Legends right after this break.